Hey, this is Leo for Actualized.org, and in this video I'm talking about a critical topic. I'm going to tell you how to stop caring what other people think about you. Why do we allow other people to have so much control over the way that we live our own lives? Have you ever wondered this? Have you ever wondered why you let people have so much power over you? Because you are doing it. And if you're a people pleaser, if you're somebody who's watching this video and this topic is something that resonated with you, and you want to stop caring so much about what everyone's thinking about you, then you should really sit down and take a deep look. And I'm going to help you to do this with this video. This is going to be a foundational video because I think that this is a problem that almost all of us face. Some of us face it to such a degree that it's literally crippling and destroying our lives. This is a personal topic for me because this is something that I really had to struggle with for a long time, not just for a few years, but really for my whole life. This is almost like a theme, a motif of my entire life is struggling with this. And just over the last year, I've made some really big progress. You know, I've been making good progress for the last maybe 3 years, but especially the last year, I've made some really good progress as I've really taken my personal development to some advanced stages. And I have some mindsets that I think I can share with you to help you right now, right at the end of this video, to walk away with some big shifts. There are going to be some paradigm shifts. So if you're facing this problem, then stick with me. I know a lot of people have been asking about this topic. This is a topic that I really wanted to do justice to. I've already shot this video several times, so this is probably my 5th time recording it. I've shot it in various places from Death Valley, etc. And I'm re-recording it now because I want to make it really have punch. So my own struggles, let me start by talking a little bit about those. Really, I moved here to the US when I was 6 years old. I moved here from Russia, and that was an amazing time for me. It was really an amazing experience. There was so much here in the US that was not available in Russia at the time. When I moved here, it was in '91, which was right before, about a year before the Soviet Union collapsed. So I moved here and my family relocated, and it was great. Except one problem in that transition was that I started going to school here, and I didn't know the language when I went to 1st grade. So I had to really learn quickly, and I struggled for a while in school trying to, catch back up. And one of the things that really crippled me there was that it was really hard for me to fit into the culture of the people here in the States in school. So I always felt like I was kind of the odd one out. I always felt a little bit weird. I always felt like I wasn't normal. I always felt that I had to work extra hard to fit in with the culture that's here. And that left some kind of deep impressions on me, some deep maybe scars, nothing traumatic, nothing shocking, but still, when you got a young mind and you're faced with that kind of challenge, you can use it to kind of scar your own self, and then you can develop this kind of complex where you feel like you're always assessing how people think about you. Maybe you can relate with that. When you're walking down the street, you're always in the back of your mind thinking about, what's that person think about me? How do I look in his eyes? How do I look in her eyes? When you're having a conversation with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you're thinking about, oh, how are they going to interpret that? What do they think about me? When you're talking in front of a group of colleagues at work, in the back of your mind, you're always running that analysis, right? Always running that analysis about how you were perceived, how you come off. So this was me for a very long time. Might be hard to believe now because I've really worked on myself a lot. Shooting these videos just in and of itself has helped me a lot. So there was that. And even more than just this incident of coming here to the States and kind of the culture shock that I had to deal with and trying to fit in, but the next thing that I really faced was that my dad was an interesting example because he was the type of person that simply did not give a shit what anybody thought about him. And it's really quite remarkable. It's almost awe-inspiring. There were good and bad components to that. There's good and bad in that. But the problem that happened with me was that I was seeing that and I was interpreting that thing of not caring about what people think of you. I was interpreting that as bad. I was thinking that that was a bad thing. And so usually what tends to happen is that your parents, your mom and your dad, they have certain values, and kids will either align with those values and they'll tend to go along with those and they'll adopt those, or some of those values kids will do the opposite with. They'll just rebel against them because they see them as being bad or something that they don't want for themselves. So that's what happened in the case with my dad here and with trying to be a people pleaser. In my own mind, I rationalized it like this. And if you're a people pleaser, then you probably can relate to this kind of line of thinking. In my mind, I said, well, I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to be uncaring. I want to be the good guy. I want to be the white knight, right? I want to be the goody-goody. I want to be empathetic. Like, I want to care about people. So I'm going to go out of my way and I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be extra nice to people. I'm going to make sure that I do things well. That's kind of a philosophy that I set for myself very early on. And I kind of rebelled from that philosophy of, fuck it, who cares what people think? I'm just doing my own thing. And now it's been many years, and I've been kind of going full circle, coming back to originally what I shunned, because there were a lot of problems with this people-pleasing mentality that I adopted. So that's what we're going to do in this video, is we're going to really help cure you of your people-pleasing tendencies. Let's first take a look at why this is happening. What's really going on here? Why are you trying to people please? Here's what I've kind of come to, this conclusion. Here's how it works. You've got an image of yourself, a self-image. And in your mind, you've got this picture, this mental picture of what you think you're like. We all have this. But you as a people pleaser, your self-image is very specific. Your self-image is that of this noble person. You're a good human being. You're a caring human being. You're not like some of those other human beings who just kind of stumble aimlessly through life, not caring about others. You don't want to hurt other people's feelings. You want to do good. You want to do right in the world. And you want to be perceived as a good, kind-hearted human being. The kind of human being that you imagine yourself to be, your ideal self. You've got this ideal self. And you want this image to be reflected in the external circumstances. So it's not just enough that you have this image, but you want validation of that image. You want evidence that your image is accurate. You want this evidence from your boss, you want it from your mom and your dad, you want it from your brother, your sister, your wife or your husband or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or any of your friends, or any of your customers or any of your clients, or even a random stranger on the street that just glances at you. You want all of those people to validate your noble self-image. You want to be approved of, and you want to be loved. That's basically what you want. And because of this, you are working very hard to maintain this image. Because, as you can probably already guess, when you've got all these random and various people in your life that you're trying to please, that you want certain reactions from, that's not an easy thing to get. That's not an easy situation to architect. So what you're doing is you're running around and you're literally trying to architect your life in a way that people are giving you the most approval possible, so that your self-image is upheld. And you can say, oh, look, I am this noble person after all. She said so. He said so. They said so. This guy said so. It was written about me here. It was told about me there. You're looking for that confirmation evidence. And anytime you hear evidence that is contradicting the self-image, that really, really disturbs you. Really disturbs you. It sends you into overdrive to work extra hard to correct that, to make sure that you don't get any disconfirming evidence. So you want both confirming and you want no disconfirming evidence. And that's what you're always working towards. One of the ways that you work towards this is by telling yourself that you want to be very empathetic, right? You really care about the feelings of other people. The problem is that being empathetic, while it can be very nice, in your case, for you, it's a trap. It's a huge, huge trap that you are drowning in like quicksand. Here's a fundamental problem that you need to come to grips with, is that although it's nice to care about other people, nice to do good things for them, to be empathetic, to understand their feelings, you are a living, breathing organism. Over 1 trillion cells comprise you. Each of those cells is almost like a little mini living organism by itself that's struggling for its own survival. All of those add up, create you. In a very deep sense, you're not even in control of how selfish you are. You are an incredibly selfish organism. And to deny this nature within you is a challenge, it's a problem. Because when you deny that you are very, very selfish, and when you tell yourself that you're this altruistic person, when you try to live up to that, the problem is that that's rubbing against your very basic nature. Very basic nature as a human being. And when you put the feelings and the priorities and agenda of everybody else in your life above your own, then you're really putting yourself in this adversarial relationship with your own nature, because your own nature is going to fight back. It's not just going to take it. It will take it maybe for a little while. Maybe it'll even take it for a few years. Maybe it'll even take it for a decade, but it won't take it indefinitely. And so problems start to bubble up, right? You can't suppress this stuff. Resentment starts to build up, anger builds up, all sorts of tensions build up in your relationships. You start feeling unfulfilled, you start feeling inauthentic, you start not being able to create and live the kind of life that you want, which is ultimately why we're talking about this, right? The reason that this is a problem, that you care too much what people think about you, is because it's preventing you from building your dream life. You can't do it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in detail as we continue. So at this point, and I want you to be very mindful of this, what your mind might be saying if you're a people pleaser is something along these lines. You might say, but Leo, so what are you talking about here? You're telling me that being empathetic and being caring is a bad thing now? When did this nonsense come about? This is good. You're telling me that what, I'm supposed to be an asshole now? That's what your brain might say. That's what my brain said for a long time. Here's the thing, you got to be nuanced here. Don't let your brain bully you. Don't let your brain engage in black and white thinking. Because right now what your brain's telling you is, I can either be a goody-goody on one hand, or I can be an asshole on the other. And I definitely don't want to be an asshole, so I'm going to be this goody-goody. And yes, there's some downsides with that, Leo. I understand, not everything's perfect. There's some pros and cons, but this is far preferable to being an asshole. So I'm going to be this goody-goody. I'm going to continue to struggle and suffer the way I have for my whole life. But it doesn't have to be this way. I'm going to give you a new alternative. The new alternative is what I call the middle way. The middle way. If on this end of the spectrum we have self-sacrifice and altruism, and on this end of the spectrum we have the careless asshole who's a monster, cold-hearted monster, then what do we have here? Here we have an interesting thing. We have someone who is completely independent of the good or the bad opinions of others, but yet he or she is grounded in his or her own values. And those values are good, and those values are right. And that's the end of it. That's the bottom line. That this person is grounded internally by their own values, and whatever opinions are out there about this person don't matter, because there is a path that this person is walking, and no one is going to take them off this path. This does not mean that this person is a monster or an asshole, and also it doesn't mean that they're self-sacrificing themselves and suffering needlessly in order to appease others. So it's really the perfect path to take, this middle path. And this is the path that you're going to have to take if you want to create an extraordinary life, the kind of life where you're doing big things. So we already talked a little bit about why empathy is bad. The other thing that I'll add on top of that is just to simply say that it's not a sustainable strategy. You think that you're doing the greatest good, but actually you're not doing the greatest good when you're denying your own nature, when you're denying your own agenda, when you're denying your own values. This really comes down to an issue of values. Because a person who's a people pleaser, the core problem with this is that when you're people pleasing all the time, then your own values and your own dreams, those get put off to the side. And when that happens, you're not working towards them. You can't. You're also not working on yourself. You're not able to do the personal development that's necessary in order to empower you to create those dreams. And for most people, those dreams could actually be the way that they help the world, the way that they help their family, the way they help their friends. But you're not able to do that because you're not honoring your own agenda, because what you're doing is you're constantly concerned about what other people are thinking about you. You're constantly sacrificing your own agenda for others, for the sake of others who impose themselves on you, but you never have the courage to impose yourself on them, and really you don't even want that because you judge that as being bad. So this whole strategy, you have to start to understand that this is garbage. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work, and you've been doing it your whole life. You see that it doesn't work, right? You're not accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish when you're doing this because you're too dependent on the opinions of others. Here's a paradigm shift. Here's something that could really change your thinking about this situation. An opinion, right? What somebody is thinking about you. What is that? What is it? It's a thought. It's this thought in somebody else's head. So literally ask yourself, this thought, which is, you could say, a figment of somebody else's imagination, that you're letting a figment of somebody else's imagination control your life. Think about that. When you put it starkly like this, it sounds pretty ridiculous. It's ludicrous that you would do this. That a figment out there, and it could be a figment, it's one thing to be influenced by the figment of the imagination of, for example, somebody that you really respect, or somebody that's really important to you, like maybe a spouse, or a father or mother. But most people, they don't even do it this way. What they do is they're really concerned about the figments of imagination that are in a complete stranger's mind. A complete stranger's mind. So maybe it's a customer that you interact with once a year and you're concerned about him. Or maybe it's you speaking in front of a group of people giving a presentation. You don't even know half the people in that audience, but you're so concerned about what they think about you, what they think about how you dress, how you speak, how your face looks, how your body looks, how much weight you have, how good they think your speaking is, how good they think your material is, right? Or you're on a date and you're so worried that this person that you've only known for a couple of days is sitting there and judging you, or what they think about you, what's going on in their mind. You're letting this dictate how your life progresses. Can you realize that how ridiculous that is? It's really a travesty to allow this to happen, because what you're doing is you're taking all the responsibility that you have to direct your own life, to make yourself happy and fulfilled in life, and you're just giving that away to somebody, to a random critic, a random stranger in some random crowd, or maybe even a close friend of yours, or a boss or a colleague. No one should have that kind of power over you but yourself. So what's the solution here? You need to start getting grounded in your own values, what you think is right, what you think you should be doing. Right? Getting grounded in that, and then just going along and really not caring about the opinions of other people. Either bad ones, which are critical opinions, or good ones, which is praise. Both of those you shouldn't really care about, because somebody who's grounded in their own values, who knows what they want out of life, who knows what they stand for in life, who knows what's going to fulfill them and what won't, right? Who knows what's right and what's wrong for them? Who knows that? Do they need somebody to tell them, yes, you're doing a good job? No, you shouldn't be doing that. Yes, I like how you dress or how you look. No, I don't like your work. I don't like your art. I don't like this thing that you said here. Are they going to be concerned about any of those things? I mean, when you really know what you want, don't you just go for it? You just go straight for it. And that's a powerful way to live life. That's how you create a powerful life. That's how you be a creator. Because if you've got all these people on the sidelines giving you their opinions and their critiques and their little snide remarks and their little praises and compliments, and you're always constantly distracted looking one way and the other, how are you going to move forward? How are you going to build out that grand vision that you have for your life? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And every single one of those people, they have their own agendas. They have their own values. They don't know your vision. They don't know your dreams. They don't know what you want to do in life. They don't know what's right and what's wrong for you. They don't have your values. So they're in charge of enforcing their values. You should be in charge of enforcing your own. Don't be the one that's left out without any values. You need to enforce your own. One objection that might come up about this point is that you might say something like, but Leo, what about feedback? Don't I need feedback? I mean, if I'm doing this work, if I'm making this art, if I'm making this music, if I'm doing something in a relationship, if I'm doing something for a customer or a client, don't I need to know if it's good or if it's bad or if it's right or if it's not? What if I'm building a business? Don't I need to know if it's going to be profitable, if it's going to be successful? Feedback is important there, right? Well, the thing here is that you're really worried that you won't make it on your own. You're really worried that you don't have your own guidance system. And that's what we need to install in you, is your own guidance system. Because if you have your own values by which to guide yourself, then you can take feedback. There's no reason why you can't listen to people telling you things. It can be a good source of information. But the problem isn't feedback. The problem with you is a lot more emotional. It's a lot more irrational, very neurotic. You're not really looking for feedback. What you're looking for is validation and approval. And you're really trying to stay away from criticism or anything negative, because you just want to build up that self-image that you've got, right? You want to preserve that self-image, that beautiful self-image of your ideal self. If you could just have that validated by everybody out there and nobody contradicted it, everything would be perfect, right? That's how you're thinking. That's not feedback. That's like egomania happening there. Very subtle egomania. Be careful about your ego telling you that you're selfless, because actually when your ego is telling you that you're selfless, that's usually when you're being the most selfish. So really watch out for that. You might also object and say, well, if I don't get proper feedback, then I'm going to get off course. I'm going to get off course. You might say, Leo, these people in my life, they keep me on course. They keep me knowing that I'm doing the right thing. Otherwise, maybe I'm doing something wrong and I won't even realize it. What if my guidance system breaks? Well, sometimes it's good to have people to hold you accountable, to do some sanity checks on your own decisions. That's all well and good. But you don't want that to become a way of life. And this concern that you have that you're going to become some sort of monster, some sort of asshole, you're going to become some sort of failure in life if you don't have all this criticism coming in, or you don't have all this feedback coming in, you're not always constantly looking for opinions and approval of other people, this is nonsense. Actually, the best way to live a very successful life is by not looking at the opinions of others. When you look at the opinions of others, that's the most likely to make you more neurotic in your life. That's the most likely way that you're going to fail. It's because you're going to be just going around in circles, worrying all the time about what everyone's thinking about you, but not honoring your own agenda. So I already mentioned that praise and criticism are both problems for you. And this might be a point that you haven't really realized and thought deeply enough about yet. Because criticism, this is obvious, right? If you're an artist or you're a business person, you're working somewhere, you're in a relationship, it's obvious that criticism is something that is emotionally disturbing to you. You don't like criticism, right? I mean, who likes to get criticized about something? So you can see how this will sabotage you, right? If you're doing your art and someone keeps telling you that your art sucks all the time, your parents tell you your art's no good, your friends tell you your art's no good, maybe you submit your art to a gallery and the dealer tells you your art's no good. So you do all this stuff, you're getting all this negative feedback about it. And all of a sudden it's making you doubt yourself. Can I even be an artist? Can I be successful? Should I be doing this? Or maybe I should stop being an artist altogether. Right there, you're starting to basically sabotage yourself because you're listening to all this feedback that's out there. I mean, how many artists were told that they would never make it? How many artists were told that their art sucks? How many artists were told that their art is worthless and won't earn a penny, only for that art to go on later in someone's life or after they're dead to earn, millions and millions and millions of dollars? So it's dangerous. It's dangerous to think and to take that criticism seriously. So this might be obvious to you. You probably know this already, that you shouldn't be taking criticism too seriously because it's gonna run you into the ground. But what about praise, you might ask yourself? You might say, Leo, what's wrong about getting praised? What's wrong with a nice compliment here or there? And I mean, technically speaking, there's nothing wrong with praise. The problem, though, for you is that you're neurotic about it. You need it. You're desperate for it. You desperately need it to prop up this beautiful ideal self-image that you've got, which is a total fiction. But you need to prop it up, so you need the praise, you need the compliments. So maybe you're that kind of artist that puts out some work, but you're not very confident in that work until someone comes up to you and says, "Oh man, that's amazing." Maybe you need it to sell. Maybe you need it to sell some prints or some copies. Maybe you need it to earn X amount of dollars for you to get that validation, that praise, that positive approval that, oh yeah, this art has been accepted, it's good. Now I can go on and I can create more. Well, see, you can't rely on that because not always will you get the praise you want. And if you're neurotic about needing praise, if you're desperate for it, if you're thirsting for it all the time, then when someone doesn't give you the praise that you think you deserve, which happens so often, then what happens? You get resentful. You get bitter. You start to doubt yourself. You start to question that person too. Why didn't they give me the praise I deserved? How could they be so insensitive? How could they be so cold and so heartless? How could they be so judgmental? So this just further undermines everything you're trying to do in your life. Makes it very difficult to build your dreams out. How are you going to build out your dreams and your vision with all the work that's required when, the work and the time, that takes a while to happen? During that time, you might have a lot of naysayers. You might have a lot of people criticizing you. You might have a lot of people questioning your motives, making fun of you, ridiculing you, saying that you won't make it. Or maybe even they'll tell you that you're doing good, but they won't give you that amazing praise that you think you deserve for your work or any other part of your life. And all of that stuff is gonna drive you deeper into the ground. It's gonna get you stuck. So what's the solution to this? How do we solve this problem? You need to come to a realization right now. This is where the paradigm shift comes in. We've talked a lot about this stuff, but here's the realization. You need to admit This is the first step. Admit to yourself right now that the current strategy that you're using, this strategy of seeking approval for your self-image, that this is a shitty strategy and that it's time to drop it. You need to admit that to yourself, because most people pleasers, they won't even get this far. They don't like being people pleasers, but they never take this first step of really thinking it all through and saying, wait a minute, this is a strategy I'm using. It's an overarching life strategy, and it's just not going to work. There's no way it can work. When you think your strategy is correct, and you think it's going to work, then you're going to keep doing it. So you need to admit that it's not going to work. Hopefully I've tried to convince you a little bit of it here, and I'm going to continue to do that as we keep talking here. But you can do your own work and investigation to really convince yourself that this is true. And I guarantee you that it's a good move to make, to move away from the strategy. Of course, you have some reservations, right? Your brain doesn't want to do it because, well, you have a lot of good reasons. You have fears, potential fears of what might happen to you, what might happen to your success in life that you currently already have and that you're clinging to. You might wonder what's going to happen in your relationship. You might wonder what's going to happen with you. You might tell yourself that you're not being authentic if you're not a people pleaser. All this various stuff comes up, which is very natural because your brain uses all those reasons and stories to keep you very grounded in your present strategy. But you need to bust through that, and you need to decide right now that the best course of action for you, the best strategy, is to become independent. Completely independent of the good or the bad opinions of others. This means that people will come and will praise you, and you'll take that praise, but it won't change your trajectory. You won't need that praise. You won't thirst after it. Also, it means that if people come and they criticize you, they laugh at you, they make fun of you, they have a negative image of you, whatever that means, then that's also okay. You're not going to be triggered by it. The game that you're playing right now, and it is a game, right? This upholding of the ideal self-image, it's a game. This game that you're playing, the problem is that it can't be won. It can't be won because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make every opinion out there exactly the way you want, and you're basically trying to control other people. You're trying to control, think about this, you're trying to control the imaginations of other people. It's not what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work. It's too much work to do it. And one of the other reasons that it's not going to work is simply because opinions are very random in nature, very capricious. What that means is that a lot of times what people think about you says very little about you and your art or your work or your looks or your personality or anything else about you. It says a lot more about that other person. I mean, think about it. Hasn't that happened to you when you were in a bad mood yourself? Something bad happened to you. Maybe you got a flat tire earlier that morning on your way to work. Or maybe you skipped out lunch and dinner and breakfast and you didn't eat for a long time, so now you're a little cranky because you're so hungry. Or maybe you had just a big breakup or a big fight with your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. So something like that happens to you, and then somebody else comes to you and asks you to maybe give them some feedback on the work that they did, or somebody else is in a conversation with you and they're trying to get your opinion on something, and then you chime in there, and what are you? You're negative, right? You're negative. You're hypercritical. You say something off the cuff that's insensitive. Maybe you criticize someone harshly, or something like that. And this is what happens with other people, right? This is what happens with other people. So when you think that somebody is criticizing your art, or is criticizing your looks, or is making fun of you, or is giving you a sarcastic comment, I mean, there could be literally a million reasons for why they said what they said. And it might not have to do anything with your art, or your looks, or your value as a human being. It might simply be that that person had a breakup, or a death in the family, or maybe they don't have a really good sense of art, so their opinion isn't worth as much as you think it is. Or maybe they just skipped lunch, and so now they give you a critique Whereas if they didn't skip lunch, they would have given you a compliment. Very random, right? I want you to ask yourself, do you want to give your dreams and your vision that you have for your own life, do you want to put that in the hands of randomness? In the literally imaginations of other people that are out there, many of whom you don't really even know too well, and a lot of them who you don't even respect that much, but you still take their opinions very, very seriously. Ask yourself this question. Can I live an extraordinary life if I'm dependent on random circumstances? Is that going to happen? What you're going to realize is that it's not going to happen, and that your life probably right now is a lot less than it could have been if you hadn't been working this people pleaser strategy for so long, and so entrenched in it. Okay, so basically, what we're talking about here is that it's okay, right? It's okay for the following things to happen. It's okay for someone to think that you're an asshole. It's okay. It's okay for someone to think that your work is shit. That's okay too. It's okay if somebody mocks you, if someone ridicules you, if someone makes fun of you, if someone makes you out to be a fool. That's okay too. And it's okay if you don't get that compliment that you think you deserve to get, or that you really wanted to get. All of this stuff, you need to treat it as just the wind blowing. It's the wind blowing left one morning, right the next morning. You got to treat it as though it doesn't matter. Because here's another deep realization that you need to come into contact with. And that's this, that there is nothing really that another human being can offer you of true value. This is a powerful realization that I had about, I'd say 5 months ago, that really helped me to get over this people-pleasing thing, is that I started to realize that, wait a minute, what is it really that somebody else, a human being, is offering to me in terms of what's really important? Are they really offering me fulfillment? How much fulfillment am I getting from this praise that I'm getting over here, this nice critical review that I get over here, this nice thumbs up that I get on my video, this nice comment that I get, this nice thank you letter that I get? I mean, don't get me wrong, all that stuff is nice, right? But if you're a people pleaser, you have to really tell yourself, wait a minute, what's the value in all that stuff? Can another person give me something that's truly valuable? At first, you might say, of course, Leo. I mean, other people give us valuable stuff all the time. Someone give me some money, or someone give me some sex, or some love, or a marriage, or work, all this stuff. But think about it a little bit deeper. What you're going to find is that nobody can really fulfill you. Sure, they can give you some material stuff. They can give you job opportunities and all that kind of stuff, and they can give you sex and love. But will that really fulfill you? What you're going to find is that this game that you're playing of trying to uphold this self-image, you think that this upholding of this self-image somehow is going to fulfill you, but honestly, it doesn't really fulfill you, does it? Even when it's perfectly upheld. It's not that fulfilling. I mean, that praise that you got at work, that nice review you got in some magazine or under one of your YouTube videos or something like that, that can be nice, but what happens? A day or two passes, a week passes, a month passes, you don't even remember that you got it. You don't remember what it feels like. It was just a nice little hit. What's a lot more fulfilling is to be on your own path in life, to be honoring your values, to be living to your dreams, to be living to your full potential in life, right? To be embodying your own values, to be fighting and championing those. That's what's really fulfilling. Creating your dream life, that's what's really fulfilling. Not these little criticisms and compliments that you get left and right. So you don't need to be upholding this self-image up there. Who cares if it gets a little bit of smudges on it once in a while? You need to accept that. Accept that your self-image will get tarnished and that people out there don't need to be constantly validating it. In fact, and I'll get to this point a little bit even later in this video is I'm going to tell you that that's actually impossible. The standards that you're setting are simply guaranteed to fail. So, as a recap, you don't need praise and you don't need approval. Right? Try to live into this in your mind. You have to kind of trick yourself because this is unnatural for you. You're a people pleaser. So you think that you really need this approval, you really need this praise, you really need people to love you, to think that you're a good human being. But really, it's okay. You're not going to die if people think that you're a bad human being. You're not going to die if somebody is criticizing you. You're not going to die if a couple of people in this world think that you're an asshole, which invariably they will. It's okay to challenge people. Tell yourself this. It's okay to do that. It's okay to offend people. It's okay to hold an unpopular opinion. It's okay to not fit in all the time. It's okay to be abnormal, to not be the average in society or the average of your group of friends or the one that fits into your family. It's okay to be the odd one out. And it's okay for people to criticize you for that. It's okay for people not to like you. It's okay for people to think that you're stupid or that your opinions are foolish or that you're flat out wrong or that you're an idiot. In your mind, a people pleaser will tell himself that, whoa, this stuff is, is horrible, must avoid at all costs. But really, if you go out there and you actually experience more of this rejection, more of this criticism, you start to build up a tougher skin and you start to realize, you know what? It just doesn't matter that much. I'm going to be dead pretty soon anyways. There's a lot more important stuff than a figment of the imagination in someone's head over there. And that's how you have to kind of start to think. If you're going to be building a big life, you're going to be going out there, imposing yourself on the world, constructing something important, maybe challenging the status quo. You're going to be clashing with people sometimes. As a people pleaser, you don't want to clash with people. You want everything to be nice and proper and prim, and that's just not going to happen. If you're building a business, there's going to be tension there. If you're building a relationship, there's going to be tension. If you're interacting with your friends, there's going to be tension. And tension comes from authenticity. When you're authentic, another person is authentic, there can be tension, and that tension is also authentic tension. And that's okay. That other person doesn't mind it so much. Actually, what that other person really doesn't like is you being fake. When you're fake all the time, just to avoid any sorts of conflict, it's hard to be attractive. Not just in intimate relationships, but I mean anywhere. It's hard to be attractive because you make yourself so bland, right? It's like you take out everything that's unique and special about you, you hide all that stuff behind your back so that nobody sees, and then you present this just like pristine vanilla mask that you put on. And that kind of mask, people aren't engaged with it, they're not excited about it, it's not good for business, it's not good for marketing, it's not good for sales, it's not good for your relationships or your love life. And it's really not good for your soul, because when you do that, your soul gets drained. You feel empty, because all that stuff that's unique about you that you put behind your back, well, that's the stuff that makes you really fulfilled when you express it. So self-expression is really probably one of the biggest things that you're sacrificing as a people pleaser. When you've got a big vision and you're going out there to build it, a lot of people won't understand what your vision is about, especially at first. Your parents might not understand what you want to do for your career. They might not get it. They understand it, they just don't get it. They think it's wrong, right? Maybe your friends think that the personal development that you're doing is stupid. Maybe your partners at work or your colleagues think that some direction that you have for the company or for this project is also wrong-headed in some way, and they're very critical of it. But you've got this vision, you've got your own values, right? And you want to live those, which means that you're going to have to put aside the opinions of those people who don't see the vision yet. This is one of the biggest struggles of being a visionary, is to deal with all the naysayers that are out there. So you got to develop some tough, thick skin, and you got to do that even though you're not going to have the feedback that you want. You're not going to have the praise that you want up front. In fact, you're usually going to have criticism and maybe even ridicule. So think about that. I think that's ultimately my point here, is that you have to choose between whether you really want to uphold this nice, shiny self-image that you've got, or you would rather build this beautiful dream life, something powerful, do something powerful with your life. Which would you rather have? Because there's definitely conflict between the two. And I think it's time for you to choose this one over here, right? Your dreams, your extraordinary life. I want you to build that. So here's how we're going to practically do it. I'm going to give you an exercise. In fact, I'm going to give you 2 exercises in this video because it's important to actually put this into practice, not just think about it. So the first exercise I'm going to get you going on right now. Here's the one thing that you're taking away from this video. It's this one single statement. I am completely independent of the good or the bad opinions of others. Such a powerful statement. It's so powerful that I'm going to say it with you right here. I want you to say it with me 3 times in a row. We're going to say it to get it to sink into your mind. All right? Ready? I'm going to guide you. I am completely independent of the good or the bad opinion of others. All right? Again, say it with me. I am completely independent of the good or bad opinions of others. Say it with me again, 3rd, final time. I am completely independent of the good or the bad opinions of others. Good. This is a powerful statement. You don't presently realize how powerful this statement is. Here's my assignment for you. If you really want to get over this people-pleasing thing, then here's what you're going to do. For the next 90 days, this is not going to be easy. For the next 90 days straight, for 5 minutes, 5 whole straight minutes, you're going to affirm to yourself as an affirmation. You're going to say to yourself, with your eyes closed, for 5 minutes straight, I am completely independent of the good or the bad opinion of others. And you're going to do that for 5 whole minutes, just repeating it, repeating it, repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. And then doing that day after day after day after day, weekday and weekends, work days and holidays for 90 days straight. If you do that, that's going to be a very powerful impulse to reprogram the subconscious mind of yours, which right now doesn't believe this at all. But if you say this for 90 days straight, you're going to be surprised at how simple something like this can be, and yet still have a very powerful shift on your psyche. So go ahead and do that. And don't dismiss this as you going to become some sort of evil monster or some sort of asshole or cold-hearted person, right? This is not going to happen to you. This might be a problem for somebody else. If I was talking to an audience of not people pleasers, but psychopaths or murderers or assholes, if I was talking to people like that, then I wouldn't be giving this conversation to them. They need more empathy, right? They need a dose of empathy in order to get them back towards center. You're so off-center to this side here, you don't need more empathy. What you need is a little bit of cold-heartedness. Really, it's not cold-heartedness, it's just not caring a fuck, right? To put you on this middle path. That's what you need. So don't worry, you are not going to become evil. You're not going to become a monster. People are not going to hate you because you do this. In fact, people will start to respect you because you find your spine in life, right? And you get some sense of direction. And the final point that I want to leave you on is that you also got to consider this. This game that you're playing of trying to please everybody, even if you play this game perfectly, you do everything right, you're the perfect human being. You're the perfect human being for your parents, for your siblings, for your spouse, for your girlfriend, for your boyfriend, for your coworkers, for your friends, for your boss. You're just the perfect human being for that random stranger that's walking down the street. You do everything the way they want. There are still going to be haters. There are still going to be people that criticize you. There are still going to be people that think bad of you. I want you to really realize how much of a losing game you're playing. Because in your mind, you might be telling yourself, well, if I just did a little bit better, maybe if I was a little bit better with my parents, or with my relationship in my marriage, or at my job, then all my problems would be solved. I would have this glowing self-image, here, it would be all validated and pristine, and then everything would be great. Well, that day is never going to come. And in fact, the more you're doing good stuff in life, the more assertive you are, which you need to be in order to accomplish big things in life, then the more attention you're going to draw. You're going to draw attention from people. Maybe you get a little bit of fame at your job, in your social circle, and as you're drawing more attention, just by the law of averages, at least one person in 100 is going to hate you. They're just going to, for any random reason either, hate how you look, hate how you sound, hate your ideas, hate your philosophy, hate everything about you. Criticize your work, hate your family, hate your friends. 1 in 100 will think that about you. So the more successful you become in life, the more of a tougher skin you're going to need, because you're going to have lots of people that are going to be criticizing you in various ways. And that's okay, because you have to let go. You have to just release your clench. Right now you've got this pristine self-image that you're just clenching so hard. You gotta release it and just let it go as like a fairy tale that you don't need anymore. It's like that security blanket that you had as a little kid that made you feel safe and good. Well, after you grow up a little bit, you don't need it anymore. You can just leave it to the side and kind of like be a grown-up. So that's what I'm encouraging for you here. And the final exercise, how do you stay up with this? How do you follow up and implement this stuff? Here's what you do. I want you to start going against the grain, right? Against the grain of what you're used to, against the grain of people pleasing. I want you to become very mindful and conscious of all the little areas in your life where you are being fake, being inauthentic, sacrificing yourself for other people. It can be something extremely simple. Like maybe you get an email from your boss, and instead of serving your kids dinner, you have to sit down. You feel like you have to sit down and instantly reply to your boss, because you feel like if you reply to your boss within 30 minutes of getting his email, then you're going to look a little bit better in his eyes. Maybe it's just a simple little thing like that where you're being fake. Whereas if you were more authentic and grounded in your own values, then you might say to yourself, wait a minute, I should really finish with the kids here, then I'll answer the email later, or maybe even next morning. Just like little things like that. I want you to become very mindful of those. And I want you to almost purposefully screw around with the system a little bit. So push people's buttons a little bit. You need that. You're a people pleaser. So your pendulum, it's swung all the way over to this end. You need to start to swing it back this way, right? And it's okay if you even go a little bit towards the asshole and the cold-hearted zone right here, because you'll find your way back. You'll find your way to the center. You got to kind of trust yourself on this. So right now you need to apply some force in the opposite direction. And here's a very easy way to do this. Very easy. Everyone has what? A Starbucks near them, right? We all have a Starbucks near us, everywhere in the world, so you have no excuses. Here's what you can do, an exercise. I want you to do this at least once in your life. Go to a Starbucks, and preferably during a busy time when they have 10 or 20 people in there, and people are lined up ordering their coffees. Maybe it's the middle of lunch or something like that. And get in line, stand there, and make sure there's some people behind you in the queue, and then as you're moving ahead, when you get to place your order and you're standing there and you're about to walk up to the cashier, you just stand there and you think to yourself and you start observing the menu as though you don't know what you want to order. And you stand there and you stand as long as you can, but you do that for at least a couple of minutes where you just stand there, your feet are totally planted, the cashier is looking at you, asking you to come forward to place your order, but you stand here like you don't give a fuck, and you mumble to yourself, wondering what you want to order. And you do that even though you know that there are 10, 20, 30 people behind you that are eager to get their orders in. Otherwise, maybe they're going to be late to work. And you just stand here and you take that pressure. That's what I mean by going against the grain. You kind of go against the grain of society right here when you're doing this. You take that pressure. People are going to be giving you weird looks. Maybe someone's going to tell you that you're being rude, that you're being careless. Good, you need that. You need that because you want to be this goody-goody. You want to uphold this pristine self-image. You need some people to tarnish it for you, and you need to tell yourself, you know what, it's okay if a couple of people in this world think that I'm an asshole. It's okay. It's even okay if I think I'm an asshole sometimes. It's okay. It's a better way to live. All right, this is Leo. I'm signing off. I know this was a long video, but this is something that was very near and dear to my heart, and I know a lot of you have been asking about this, so here you go. This is how to stop caring what other people think. If you apply some of this stuff, I know you'll get good results, and for me, this has actually been one of the most fulfilling personal developments that I've gotten in the last year or two, is really releasing a lot of it. A lot of it I had to do because I'm on YouTube, so I get a fair share of criticism and negative comments. I mean, I get a lot of positive comments, which is great, but even those, I had to also kind of wean myself off of that. So I try to be more independent from the praise and the criticism, and I think it's good for everybody. Even if you're not shooting YouTube videos, it will be handy in your life too. Alrighty, this is Leo. I'm signing off. Go ahead, post your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, like this video. Click the like button for me right now. The more people like this, the more free content I can keep releasing. Also, share it with a friend if you would. Throw it on Facebook. And finally, come and sign up to my newsletter. It's right here, Actualized.org. It's a free newsletter. You can sign up. I'm releasing new videos just like this every single week. I plan exclusive stuff for my subscribers coming up soon. A lot of exciting stuff that can't be done through YouTube. That's going to be on my website. And really, the reason you want to sign up, besides all the bonuses and nice stuff, is that I'm really passionate about helping you to create a passionate life. I want to give you the mindsets that you need. A lot of advanced mindsets, deep stuff that I don't find in a lot of books. This stuff, I have to really dig deep to find this stuff. A lot of this stuff comes from my own experiences, some of the clients that I work with. I've been on this personal development journey for at least 5 years now, really strong, really studying it, really thinking about it. And this stuff has made big improvements in my own life. I've seen it make big improvements in the lives of my clients. And there's so much more to discuss about how to become more authentic, more independent, right? More on track with your own goals, with your own values. How do you get all the pieces into place? Because this is just one piece. We want to get all the pieces into place because there's a lot of factors that are keeping you from having that successful, fulfilling life. And I'm really excited about sharing all those with you. So sign up and you'll be on track with that every single week with updates.